Hello and welcome. Today we're going to present the TeleREC program. TeleREC is a call recordings manager which integrates with Ombutel. To configure the system, we have to log in as an administrator. So we enter our username, admin, and its password. Then we click login. The first thing we see is the main panel, showing us the last calls that were made on the whole system. Here, we can see the extension number, the dialed number, an incoming call, the duration, and we have some parameters that we can configure as an administrator, like adding ratings, notes, flags, a reference number, or listen to the recording. We'll come back to these later. What we need to do first is go to Settings to configure the system and click Flag Profiles. What are flag profiles? They are the causes for which we received or placed a call. For example, in an inbound call center, you can flag if the call was for customer support, sales, etc. Or if it is an outbound call center, you can flag the calls as if they were a successful sale, if you couldn't reach the prospect, or we didn't get an answer. In our case, we already have two flag profiles defined for two companies. One profile for Telesoft and another profile for EBD. In Telesoft, we have blue for tech support, green for Sorcom support, red for information, black for test, and gray for internal. In the case of EBD, there's sales, support, provider, information, consultation, and charge collections. We can add as many flags as we need in a profile. Once this is done, we are going to create the teams. What are teams? Teams are groups where we group extensions together. For example, here we have a team for Telesoft that is associated to a flag profile, like you can see here. We also got a team for EBD, and it's associated to its own flag profile. Next, we have the extension synchronization. With synchronization, we mean which extensions we want to join to a team. In our case, the extensions are already synchronized. However, if we want to synchronize all the extensions from EBD, we click this icon over here, and here appear the extensions that are yet to be synchronized. We can select a group of extensions and add them in bulk, which makes the synchronization process much easier. We can tell which type of call recordings we want to preserve: outgoing, incoming, or internal. Then we click the Synchronize button. In our case, they already are. Then we got the extensions. These are the extensions that are synchronized. What is the objective? This way we can edit the extensions individually, change their teams one by one, or change the call recordings we want to preserve. Afterwards, we got the users. There are multiple user levels, 4 to be exact. The first level, which is the lowest level, is the agent. The agent can only see its own calls. The agent has a personal panel in which it can only see its own calls. The agent can write down notes, can flag the calls, or add a reference number. It cannot add a rating to a call. Ratings can only be added by a supervisor, a manager, or an administrator. Let's see what a typical agent profile looks like. We click on an agent. The agent has a login username, a full name, the profile, the extension associated to that agent. Very important. We can also choose what the startup dialog screen is, a password, and the department as an additional information. Also, we are able to upload a user profile picture. In the settings, we got the theme, the type of notifications, the language, and the time zone. And if the agent will use multi-tab, as you can see over here. We keep a tab open for every section we enter for easier access. All of this is what the agent will have. Now, let's check a supervisor profile. So let's open up a supervisor user. The supervisor has a username, full name, the profile, and the teams that the supervisor will supervise. A supervisor can be perfectly in charge of multiple teams, not just one. This means that the supervisor can see calls from those teams. We can also change the startup dialog screen, the password, and the department, and a user profile picture as well. Now, let's check a manager. Again, they got the username, a full name, the profile, and a manager is in charge of supervisors, not teams. This means that the manager is over the supervisors. They have access to all the teams that its supervisors supervise. We can change the startup dialog screen, password, and department. Then the settings that are similar to the extensions. Finally, the administrator user. The admin has access to everything. That's why you can't see a specific profile. This is the system administrator. TeleREC has a free version available for up to 4 extensions. However, you can add more extensions through the Ombutel website and acquire as many licenses as you need. Then you write your name down over here, your email, and add your license here. And you can activate it online, so you can have the license permanently active. Now let's go to the next part. Now we're going to click the report section. What can we do in the report section? Alright, first we can create filters. And what do we mean by creating filters? Filters are a certain criteria we use to create a report. For example, we got a flag filter. We can choose to which teams we want to use this filter on, and then we can check which flags we want to use. Let's say we only want to look for the sales flag. So we can get rid of all the flags but the sales flag. So now we are only going to get the calls that are flagged with sales. We can then use this filter so we can get specific reports and then send them to our clients with the case of the call centers. You can create filters in many other ways. You can also add different conditions, like all calls made from a certain extension, etc. Then, we also have a call search. This is a search in which we apply a filter. This is a quick search. For example, if we want to see the calls placed on July, we select a range in the date and then click search. And automatically, it shows us all the calls placed on the month of July. We can see there are 74 pages. Since we are administrators, we can add a rating, a note, etc. When we get to the supervisor part, we will see how to add a note or how to add a rating. As an administrator, we can save a report. What do we mean by this? We can perfectly save a report with all of the recordings. So then we can set it as one file to its final destination. That can be our client that hired us for this campaign. But we'll get more into this when we get to the supervisor part. With this, we end the phase of what an administrator can do. As you are able to see, it is very simple to configure the system. Very easy. Now, let's log in as a supervisor. Now, we are going to log in as a supervisor. So we input the supervisor username and the password, and then click login. As you can see, the supervisor cannot access the settings, so the supervisor cannot configure anything. It can only access the reports and supervise calls. Okay, what we're going to do first is that the supervisor listens to the call recording. He listens to the call. Once he or she finishes listening to the call recording, they say, well, they get a rating of 4 stars, or the call was deficient. In our case, we'll place 4 stars. And the supervisor can add a note, which can be seen by the agent. Great job. And we click save. You can see that the date and time is added and the name of who wrote the note. We can also email this note. Also, since the agent hasn't added a flag to the call, probably because the day hasn't ended yet. The supervisor can perfectly place a flag in the call recording. In our case, we're not going to place it. We will wait until the agent puts it. And in the reference number, the agent hasn't placed one either, so we will wait for that too. If by the next day the agent hasn't placed a flag and the reference number, we call his or her attention so they can input this information. The supervisor, besides having all of the calls from his or her team at their charge, they can also obtain reports. They can create filters and make searches. As we promised, we will see how to obtain a report. For example, we will make a global report from all the calls that the supervisor is in charge of, and we'll save it. So, we click Save. Add a description, for example, report underscore 2016 0701 underscore 2016 07 14. We will also save notes and flags and click Save. Alright, so we can see there's a progress for the save. However, many times the reports are quite big. So we can go directly to download and we can see it is still pending. This means that the report is still being processed. Okay, so the report is ready now and we can either download it or delete it. In this case, we're going to download it. It is one file as I commented earlier. This one is 223 megabytes and it is already downloaded. I'll copy it to a new directory just to be more organized. Test. Once copied, I proceed to extract the file. As you can see, we got all the WAV files from the recordings, and at the end, we got a PDF file. We opened the PDF file using Adobe Reader. For example, in this call over here, we can see the notes it has. We click Allow, and we can see all of the notes. We can also listen to the call recording. We see it also has the rating. And if we click the play icon, we will listen to the call recording. Everything is inside a PDF file. This allows that our client have practically an independent system installed on their computer. So in this file, we can search by number or by extension or by date. So now we saw the place where the report data is saved and where we're giving a link. And with this, we finish with the supervisor, and now we're going to log in as an agent. Now we'll log in as an agent. We put the agent username and password and we click login. The first thing we see is the agent main panel. What do we have in the agent panel? We see the last calls of the day. In the upper part is always the most recent call. Here, we can see that we can do a refresh. So if we place a call, we click it, and then it appears on the list. We can see how many calls the agent has placed, the team the agent belongs to, and the agent's extension. The agent can perfectly add a note to his or her calls. We already have some notes made. The client is very happy. And we can email this note too. The agent can add a flag or multiple flags if necessary. They can add a reference number or modify it. And also listen to the call. The agent can only listen to the call recording. They cannot download it. The agent can also search for older calls, but only from his or her extension. They cannot see or listen to calls that are not from his or her extension. They can also create some filters with certain criteria we've already explained, and perform a search. The agent can do a global search from their calls, or for example, search for a call that has a note that says happy. So we click search, and in this case, we can see that one call was found. And in the content of the note, there is the word happy. The calls can also be searched by flags, by destination, or by a reference number. And as you can see, the agent can only work around his or her calls, but their calls only. The agent cannot rate their own calls. Ratings can only be done by supervisor, manager, or administrator. We go back to the panel. And with this, we finish with the agent module and with the TeleREC presentation. We hope that you like this program. We also invite you to visit the Ombutel website, www.ombutel.com, where you will be able to acquire a commercial license. Remember, there's a free license for TeleREC for 4 extensions. However, you can get more extensions from the website ombutel.com. Thank you very much for your time.